Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everybody. And it's a great honor to stand in front of you and make this presentation about the work we've been doing. Before everything, let me thank organizers for working so hard for us to put this together. Ali, Muhammad, and all of you. I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you for taking the time from your busy schedules and to be here with us in Brussels. It gives me a great pleasure to be amongst you, our respected political leaders, Eritrean, and those who couldn't be here with us in person, send a message of solidarity and the spirit of the struggle to free our people from tyranny in Eritrea. I'd like also to thank fellow Eritreans on this very special day in Eritrean history as we celebrate September 1st, today, the 55th anniversary of independence and Eritrean armed struggle and our Eritrean. So I'd like to big thank you. As Afar Eritreans fighting for Afar self-determination for our people in Eritrea, we share the aspirations of thousands of Eritreans who sacrificed their lives to fully emancipate themselves from oppression, human rights violation, criminalization, displacement, and exploitation. The same dreams and aspiration which we made pioneers like Idris Awate, Idris Gumhed, Abdul Qadir Kabir, and Duni Hassan, Musa Gaas, Muhammad Umar Akito, just to mention a few of them. So that dream and aspiration is still alive and true today. This is what drives us as all Eritreans fighting against the injustice, oppressions against Isaias Afwerki and the PFDJ and his military junta. So I'd like to speak a little bit about EASE. As you can see, EASE, Eritrean Afar State in Exile, is a political Eritrean Afar political organization. EASE will establish a democratically elected Eritrean Afar State in Antalya, Eritrea. We will foster a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious democratic federation between pluralistic Eritrean society founded in the principle of rule of law, fundamental rights and freedoms, equality of each nationality, and respect for the human rights of all Eritreans. We are here today preparing the necessary groundwork for additional phase leading to Eritrean Afar State government, Afar home state of Antalya within federated Eritrea. EASE is the voice of Eritrean Afar people. EASE draws its mandate from a political, traditional Afar leadership, Afar women, youth group, Eritrean Afar diaspora, and the Afar refugees. Next. Slide 2. That's good. We are dedicated to self-determination of self-rule of Eritrean Afar people. We are dedicated to end marginalization, persecution, ethnic cleansing of indigenous Afar in Eritrea. Our democratic vision will restore the indigenous rights of our people in Eritrea, including land rights, resource rights, cultural and language rights. Our vision will end the cycle of lawlessness and restore people's confidence in the rule of law. Next. Eritrea is blessed by its cultural diversity and its mosaic ethnic makeup. Each ethnicity and culture has its own evolved history. Afwerki regime has violated the rights of all of its ethnicity. The Eritrean government thinks recognizing cultural diversity means showing cultural dances on every Independence Day. It understands, recognizes Eritrea's diversity, protecting the rights in good for all our national unity and protection of our sovereignty. His plan will restore and restore all Eritrea's ethnicities, their social and economic grievances, protect religious and political freedoms, and the rights of each ethnicity and the region to prosper and chart its internal plans. One of the saddest chapters of Eritrea's recent history has been the violation of human rights. As you may know, the Afar and Kunama are at the center of most recent report by Commission of Inquiry. The Commission of Inquiry produced one of the most detailed report of human rights violation and persecution of Afar in Eritrea. The Commission found Eritrea was guilty of persecuting the Afar on ethnic basis. The Commission found the government was engaged in campaign of mass killing, rape, forcible displacement, expropriation of land and property, and mass displacement of Afar in Eritrea. The Commission found mass graves in Dankalia. In regards to Afar and Kunama Eritreans, the Commission found Eritrean officials have intentionally and severely deprived the Eritrean Afar and the Kunama of fundamental rights contrary to international law on ethnic grounds. In paragraph 296, the Commission confirmed the persecution of Afar on ethnic grounds, and the persecution has been an integral part of Eritrean leadership plan to maintain its authority in a manner contrary to international law. Thus, the Commission finds the Eritrean officials have committed crimes of persecution and crimes against humanity in a large scale, in a routine manner, since May 1991, and the persecution persists till today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's quite apparent from looking in the report by the United Nations Commission of Inquiry, United investigators, the International Human Rights Organization, but more importantly, those of us who survived to talk about these atrocities, we can confirm the government of Eritrea has committed cultural genocide against the indigenous Afar and the Kunama people in Eritrea. The current Eritrean regime classifies Somalia as closed military zone in order to manipulate and exploit Afar resources and strategy. Afwerki deliberately kept away international access, foreign aid from coming into the Afar population in Dankalia. Afwerki has deliberately destroyed traditional Afar fishing economy, their lucrative salt mining industry, closed all trade activities, destroyed the animal wealth of the Afar people. Eritrea and the PFDJ is destroying Dankalia and the Afar people in order to maintain its power grip and exploit the wealth of Afar people to benefit his close circle of friends and generals. Eritrea is achieving this through violence and economic marginalization of Afar people. Dankalia, as you can see here, is one of Eritrea's most resource-rich, most sought-after strategic prime real estate in Eritrea. Dankalia presents key geostrategic economic interest asset for the Afwerki clique. It is in its original form, Dankalia used to be the second largest province in the country, with approximately 40,000 square kilometers of land, resource-rich territories, ports, and international seaways. Dankalia presents unparalleled advantage for Eritrea's economic future. The Afar are fleeing Eritrea by of thousands. Estimated nearly a quarter of Afar population in Eritrea have fled their homes and property since 1997. Now, as you may know, the coast of Dankalia is now at the center of this geostrategic military and strategic military agreements, business and partnership between international actors. After displacing the indigenous Afar from their ancestral land, the Dankalia Eritrean regime is now fully engaged with multicultural corporations, foreign governments. Now Dankalia's strategic coast, which you saw, and resources, port, potash, to foreign entities without the consent of the Afar and the Eritrean. Afwerki's international exportation strategy now includes the Gulf of Arabs, Australia, Russia, China, State of Qatar, only to mention a few. Afwerki is now selling over 400 square kilometers of potash-rich Afar land resources to multinational corporations such as Australia. The Kululi potash is estimated at billions of dollars, and PFDG elites and the military brass control 50% of it, and other 50% is of course done to the multinational corporations, and the Afar left with none, not even in a picture. None of these corporations and foreign governments are considered the property rights of the Afar, human rights, the devastation it's caused the traditional economy, their way of life, and the impact it has in the environment, and do not pay care for their displacement must be condemned by all of us. Brothers and sisters, what is happening to ethnic Afar and the Kunama is nothing less than social and economical genocide. With all Dankalia's resources, the Afar Eritreans are one of the most impoverished communities in Eritrea and in the world. As we move forward, I want to share with you the political roadmap, but I had prepared a video. Unfortunately, we couldn't play it.
Welcome to Dankalia. The Eritrean Afar state in exile, EASE, introduces a sustainable socio-economic development and geopolitical strategy for democracy and coexistence in Eritrea. Part of EASE Afar Master Plan is Dankalia 20. The Afar are one of Africa's long-established First Nation inhabitants of the region called the Horn of Africa. The Afar have lived in the Afar Triangle at the convergence of what are now Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Eritrea since time immemorial. The Afar Triangle is also the home of Lucy, the oldest skeletal remains yet discovered, 3.2 million years old. Many paleontologists refer to Afar homeland as the cradle of humanity. The Afar have been practicing their distinct language, economic pursuits, religious practices, and political culture has evolved for many generations. Historically, the Afar nations have governed themselves autonomously without interference and in accordance with their indigenous customary laws, legal systems called Mada, and traditions. The Afar territories were the subject of colonization and occupations separating Djibouti, Eritrea, and Ethiopia in the late 1800s during the Scramble Africa. Though divided, the Afar have remained connected throughout the Afar Triangle. Welcome to Dankalia. Dankalia, strategically situated at the heart of the Red Sea, across from Yemen and Saudi Arabia, over 58,000 square kilometers of land size, stretching from the northern tip of Massawa to Rahaita in the south, bordering Djibouti, is approximately over 1,000 kilometers of pristine beaches and coastal towns. Due to the aggressive hostilities towards neighboring states, the Afar people continue to suffer both socially and economically, and Dankalia remains isolated and the most underdeveloped in the region. The present Eritrean leadership turned Dankalia into a military go zone, forced vast majority of the Afar population into poverty and displacement, devastated their livelihoods, and cut off Dankalia from the international community. Dankalia is one of the most sought-after and prime real estate in Eritrea and the Horn of Africa. Coastline, territories, and deserts of Dankalia contain wide species of marine life, untapped reservoirs of natural resources and minerals, and precious metals. Geopolitically, Dankalia and the Afar can play a critical partnership role for peace and security in the region and fight against religious fundamentalism affecting the development in the Horn of Africa. Dankalia Coast is also home to what was and could again become bustling international Assab and Massawa ports. Dankalia is a socio-economic bridge from Africa to the Middle East, Asia, and Europe. The Afar Plan. Inspired by their indigenous knowledge and expertise of their traditional economies, way of life, and the determination to turn the page on poverty, discrimination, marginalization, and neglect by the current Eritrean regime, our plan is to open up Dankalia and its potential into a free economy and a powerhouse for development opportunities for all Eritreans. The Afar Plan Dankalia 2020, Rabak Nuwe, Staying Alive, will explore the existing indigenous economies, the strategic coasts, assets and resource extractions, rehabilitation and revamping of the crumbling infrastructure affecting Assab Port, refineries, roads and economic assets, as well as create more technologies suitable for semi-arid environment, and most of all build a parliament for democratic governance, a university for the development of Afar education system, a reintegration and rehabilitation of refugee center, and a strategy for sustainable economic growth. Our plan is for Dankalia to leverage its human capital and strive for a better quality of life.
I'm sure you will realize, had you seen the video, you'll probably reflect on what I'm saying to you now. But the policy will reinstate the dignity of Afar and Eritrean people. Our strategy is to lift up our people from poverty and marginalization. Our policy will rebuild the democratic institutions and constitutional reform. In order to achieve a political freedom, economic prosperity, and multiculturalism, we must reform the existing but not implemented 1997 Constitution. I'm sure you will have more insight about the Constitution by Professor Joseph Magnet, who is present here with us today. So the Eritrea requires a power-sharing constitution to reflect its diversity, multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-faith societies in Eritrea. As opposition groups, collectively, we must collectively confront the policies of ethnic discrimination, assimilation, and marginalization. Next. The 1997 Constitution should not be implemented without modification made to the rights of Eritrean Afar. The 1997 Constitution contains no chapter on minority rights. 31 of the Constitution ensures that Eritrea's central institution will be dominated by the larger nationalities, as they are now. The 1997 Constitution contains no authorities. Article 1 gives the central authorities full control over the region, the carte blanche over the Afar economy, resources, governing structure of all of our society. Centralized power has been used to reorganize the regions and depreciate their powers and territory. Dankalia, for example, has been reduced and it's now divided in two parts. And the Article 23.1 of 1997 Constitution declares all lands, all natural resources below and above the surface of the territory of Eritrea belongs to the state. State means, we all know what state means. It belongs to Afar and his military. So this article expropriates the indigenous rights of Afar people to the soil, contrary to international law. It deprives the Afar of any guarantees of their traditional pursuit at all. It allows central authorities to appropriate the traditional Afar land, the resource of pastoralists, and sell them, as you can see, as you have seen, to multinational corporations and resource extraction companies. Our message here today, as to European Union, as in regards to the implementation of the current Eritrean issue. As you all know, the European Union, the United Nations, the United States, and the US have all recommended that this is going to be implemented. As we stand here today in Brussels, at the center of European constitutional democracy and at the foot of the European Union, a model for those of us who aspire to follow your lead, your recommendation to implement the 1997 Constitution without investigation and its harm it causes to the Afar and other smaller nationalities in Eritrea goes against your values and principles that you stood for in Europe. To our Australian friends and the extraction company, you need to change your resource extraction policy dealing with the regime in Asmara. Your corporate responsibility to Afar should be set at the higher moral grounds. Your economic agenda should not be the cause of our displacement in poverty and the poverty of Afar in Eritrea. To our brothers in Islam across the Red Sea, I'm talking about our brothers specifically to Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and the state of Qatar. We are not against your development. in Dankalia. But Dankalia's resources, Dankalia's strategic interests, the development plan that you have for Dankalia is not supposed to be feeding the tyranny of Afwerki and his military clique, which is responsible to death and persecution of our people. And as Muslims, we should recognize that feeding Afwerki with all this funding and millions of dollars at the expense of our people and other Eritreans, this is something that you should be ashamed of, and hopefully revisit your dealing with Afwerki. 16. And to Ethiopia, our neighbor. Ethiopia has been the most gracious country to those of you, all Eritreans know that opening up refugee. We're very grateful for opening up your doors to our refugees. This is a great neighborly gesture. EAS's plan for economic development includes you. I'm talking to Ethiopia. However, it's time that Ethiopia looks into Eritrea and Afar causes in EASE specifically in a very serious way. Don't look at the support as some kind of commodity that you're after. You need to look beyond the support, rather the possibility of mutual respect, coexistence, economic and social brotherhood. To our Eritrean brothers and sisters, Dankalia and the Afar were the birthplace of Eritrean liberation struggle. Afar Eritreans were the pioneers of Eritrean revolution. The Afar are not secessionists. We are not about to harm Eritrea. The sad reality of today is that many Eritreans know very little about the Afar contribution to Eritrean struggle. Under EASE, part of our strategic plan includes protecting the sovereignty and borders of Eritrea. 17. I'd like to acknowledge a serious heavyweights who paid the ultimate sacrifice for those of us to stand here and speak to you today. I'd like to thank those currently under fear and captivity in Eritrea, those who perished in their way to freedom in the desert of Antalya, those who perished in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Your lives were not lost in vain. Our late brother, Mr. Ahab Ali Halab, for his contribution to Eritrean affairs. We are greatly in debt to Professor Joseph Magnet, who is here today amongst us. Thank you, Brother Joe, for your pro bono work, legal advice, commitment. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank brothers from the opposition leadership that are currently present with us. I want to thank you for being here with us. This is a good way to start understanding our cause, building the relationship. It's overdue, and we are grateful for that. Finally, I'd like to thank my colleagues, members of EASE, and our elders, our women, our refugees in the region, especially in Saudi Arabia, in Ethiopia, and elsewhere. And I want to thank all of you for granting us an opportunity to see a free, prosperous region where the children of Afar and the Kunam, the Belain, the Nara, the Saho, the Tigray, the Hadrab, the Tigrinya, the Jaberti, the Rashaida, and all of us live in peace and contribute to development and nation building and contribute to the sovereignty of Eritrea. Thank you for listening.